What's up, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. Today, I'm here with my cameraman, editor, super awesome dude, Jack.
What's up?
And we're going to be reacting to the time a couple weeks ago when we both met a Satanist. So we're going to be watching this and reacting to it, trying to think of where I could have been better in what I was saying, also going into more detail over some things. Also, just to preface this, I had a couple people tell me, hey, Dryden, why'd you talk to him for so long instead of just straight up evangelize and then leave him? I'm not just evangelizing in these videos. These videos are a way for me to get conversations that I would normally never get. So I do want to hear where people come from. I want to hear their point of view. I want to have even slightly debates to an extent. So these evangelism videos aren't strictly evangelism. So I want people to understand that, because there were a couple people who were like, hey, you talked to him for so long. One guy was mad. He was like, why did you even talk to this guy at all? He's a Satanist. He's against everything God stands
sat
for.
with sinners and supped with them.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, oh, we got to be nice to people? I'd never heard that before, except when Jesus says it all the time.
I will say there's one part, and obviously there's a balance. There are a few times where you have to decide, hey, do I want to call him out on this point? I, you know, there's a balance between like letting the truth be known and then also like giving him time to kind of come around and hear him out. And address his arguments.
And then there's a few times where you'll hear me agree with people who aren't Christians in these videos. Numerous people, I'll say, I agree this, I agree. Well, guess what? That's because I agree. So that's why I said I agree. So I can always explain that later if you guys aren't idiots and could just understand nuance. But unfortunately, some of the people...
Too much to expect of the people.
It's too much to expect of people on TikTok. TikTok is just the...
No, that's cream of the crop right there.
Cream of the crop, actually. Yes.
All right, let's do
this.
So
let's watch this together.
Boop. Go on.
Yeah. Ready? All right. My name is Dryden. What's your name?
My name is Alex Yeager.
Alex Yeager.
Aaron Yeager. So Aaron Yeager is a classic reference to the animated show Attack on Titan. So for those of you who didn't understand that, yes, I watch anime.
What did you want to talk about today? I mean, you saw us, so.
Oh yeah, so
notice how I lead with, what do you want to talk about, as opposed to let me evangelize to you right now. And that's because I was evangelizing to someone else and he was watching, and then he said, I want to talk to you guys on camera. So I saw it as an opportunity to just hear out this guy. I didn't know he was a Satanist until he says it. So that's why this wasn't the normal, hey, ask question, try to evangelize, blah, blah, blah. Okay?
I was coming up this way and I saw that you were interviewing, and I asked someone who was nearby that you were asking about like religious beliefs.
Drop a like for the camera work.
And just sort of general
hit that fat like button right now for Jack, and then pay us.
Beliefs about Christianity and all that. And I just wanted to throw in my 2 cents.
Yeah, let's hear it.
So I was raised Baptist.
Okay.
I lived in this area, so I've actually been baptized. But I'm not Christian. I'm actually a Satanist.
Okay.
So there's probably I'm
literally just I'm a Satanist.
Because part of I know part of the reason you wanted to talk to us, you wanted some sort of reaction. So also, obviously, you have to read these people. We had a quick conversation before and then after, like the camera was rolling, and so you have to kind of read these people, and you always got to keep them on their toes. Don't give them exactly what they want. You just got to give them enough to get them. You know, obviously treat them well, but you want to hear what they have to say. And
just guys, listen, my audience, please just try to think.
Little critically.
Watch it all in. I'm sorry I called you guys idiots earlier, and I know that there's some boomer who's going to watch this video and be like, Dryden, you need to be nicer to people. And I'm tired of it. I'm tired. Look, people are so stupid these days, and, we need to have grace. And I can have grace for someone who's an idiot. You know, like that's, and also part of this is my sense of humor, my personality, and I hate that I have to explain that to people, because there are people who are like, you're so mean and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I'm sarcastic, you know? And I do mock sin pretty often, and people get upset at that too. They're like, you're too mean. And it's like, oh my gosh, there's no in between. So we're
20 seconds.
I don't have
How
a
long
good
is this video gonna be?
This is gonna be an hour-long video. I don't have a
this is
good audience.
Next point blank.
Yeah,
podcast.
Exactly.
Probably in the minority when it comes to that.
Well, I haven't met a Satanist before, so that's awesome.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to
See, I say that's awesome because look, this is just a kid.
You about to say dweeb?
I was gonna say dweeb, and then I caught myself. This is just a dweeby kid, you know. Yeah. I am also just a dweeby kid. True. We're all just dweeby kids, you know.
Yeah.
This guy isn't wearing a thong with Satan tattoos on him and bat wings, you know, like he's not killing a baby in front of me.
Cringe with the mask. But,
so I'm sorry I said you're a Satanist. That's awesome, because someone did complain about that too. They're like, you shouldn't ever call that awesome. Oh my gosh, sorry for my American lingo. Like, just that's what Americans say. Like, forgive me. Goodness gracious.
and it just like real quick, Satanism is not really like, oh, we're worshiping Satan, but isn't it more like is it more like idolizing self?
How much did you know about Satanism prior to?
I knew exactly what I said here.
Okay, that's good.
Which is why when he said I'm a Satanist, I was like, okay, this guy's not a threat, because Satanists are just people who want reactions. Yep. They want attention, and really they're just trying to be, by the world standards, nice, consenting adults. Like nice kind of worldly. Sure, it could all be virtue signaling. You know, that's the point of the mask, is it's virtue signaling. But like, these aren't super terrible guys, more than your average guy. You know, we've all fallen short. We've all fallen short of the glory of God. So it's not like this guy is extra evil because he's a Satanist. No, he's just a kid. He wants attention. He wants to be part of something that's unique and different. He was raised Baptist. Yeah. I can't think of a better way to piss off my parents than to one day be like, either I'm pregnant or two, I'm a Satanist. So
for like, I'm kind of fuzzy on that.
Here's my membership card. So I'm actually part of the Satanic Temple.
I was like, let's get this. This is a thumbnail.
Thumbnail in my mind, right there.
I'm like, oh, we need this.
Content creator Jack is like, we need this shot. We got the shot. And yeah, so right here, Satanic Temple.
It gets clear.
Membership.
I have a Christian.
There we go.
William Alexander Yeager. Okay, it looks like his birthday and social security.
Oh,
no.
Okay.
On the back, actually, it has the 7 tenets of Satanism, which are 6 of them are inherently Christian. Crazy. We'll cover that in a bit.
Membership card. What the heck?
Yeah, right.
You can't escape moralism.
So essentially, it's a atheist or agnostic organization where.
See, it's atheist agnostic. They don't worship Satan.
Wait.
They worship themselves. It's not atheism. It's
well, they believe
humanism.
In Satan, not God. So they don't think Satan is divine, to my knowledge. They just, I don't know. I actually don't know much.
They mostly worship themselves, though. You'll hear he talks about his body being his temple.
It's all about like consent. The best way I can describe it is that your body is your temple and you are the God within it.
Okay, low-key based. Not really. Just like your body's a temple of the Holy Spirit, not of Satan. You don't own your body. You were bought with a price. So it's funny. You hear some of these things he says, and Satan loves to get people so close to the gospel, yet not. And obviously, like, I'm a Satanist. It's
just he defiles what's supposed to be godly. So it's like, okay, our bodies are temples for the Holy Spirit. So Satan's like, okay, or not even just Satan. We give Satan a lot of credit when we also have to remember that man is pretty evil themselves.
Tower of Babel,
so it's really men who are like, Noah, like,
get the boat.
Yeah, it's like men. It's like, okay, my body's a temple, not for Holy Spirit though, for myself. It's like, okay, you think Satan told him to do that? Obviously Satan lies, kills, deceit, everything, but. I'm so tired of Christians being like, it's a demon, it's the devil, it's Satan. It's like,
sure.
Are you sure it's not your own selfish desires that are sinful?
Yeah.
I mean, read, that's in James 1, where it talks about we are tempted by our own desires. It literally says our own desires give way to temptation, which gives way to sin, which gives way to death.
Right. Which is different. Was like your flesh cannot cause you to sin. You still have personal responsibility, but it sure can tempt you.
Definitely,
because you have that fleshly desire, and that's what I'm actually looking forward to when we're in heaven. Is I will not have that part of my flesh. I will not have the desire or the temptation.
It'll be pretty nice.
It'll be amazing.
Yeah, but really, I'm just so tired of like the devil's tempting me right now. It's like, really, dude. really? Or like, do you just want to?
I mean, he's real. There's real influence, but it's overarching.
No, there is real influence. I'm just tired of it being the only influence, and it's an excuse.
So you can choose to do whatever you want with your body, because after all, you're stuck with yourself for your life. And of course, if somebody tries to encroach on that, taking away your consent.
This is where my little brain went click. Time to start thinking about where this direction is going. Right. Obviously, this conversation is not going towards evangelism. I also wasn't necessarily planning that it would be.
Yeah.
What I can do is challenge some of his thinking. So think of that.
Doing things to you that you don't
listen, guys, I am smarter than you in every single way.
Want to do. They're breaking that rule. They're basically bringing you down.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, obviously you don't want to defile a temple. But
yeah, no, I actually agree, because, you know, as Christians and, you know, growing up Baptist, we believe that our bodies are temples, except instead of ourself as the God, it's God as God.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a similar thing, like where we don't want to do things that will negatively affect our own body and then sin against God in a sense.
Yeah, and so it was that mentality of where, I mean, I read the Bible, so there was a lot.
I doubt it.
He didn't
cover to cover.
Study. No, absolutely not. I mean, but I don't fault. I mean, probably he read it.
When
like
people
any other
say,
nominal Christian.
whenever people say I read the Bible, I'm always just hesitant to believe them.
And you know why? Because I've read the Bible and I've also studied the Bible, and there's a huge difference. Like, I'll be reading in one passage, and it's just you have to compare scripture to scripture, and it's actually somewhat difficult to get a holistic.
It is difficult. That's why we have pastors.
You got to spend time, to shepherd the flock.
Yeah.
I mentioned and talked about that. I was like, that doesn't seem great.
Like what?
Well, like it's a sin to wear two different types of fabric.
See, I can practically almost with 100% guarantee that he did not read that straight from scripture in Leviticus, and I can tell you that because Leviticus, Deuteronomy, those books are really boring. I'm telling you, that specific verse is one verse, and it is brought up all the time to specifically combat the Bible's view of homosexuality. So guarantee when he was searching, like, is it okay to be gay in the Bible, there was a pro-homosexual article, guaranteed, because I've seen these articles where it says, yes, it's okay because it's old law. Not true. But they also say, well, the Bible also says you can't cut your beard. You can't cut the corner of your hair. You can't wear two fabrics put together, which were all weird to us, but back then it made sense. And I explained that later, like why that was a thing.
Covenants. And it's interesting, you see, even the 10 Commandments, we're not technically under anymore. I was reading Galatians. Just basically the purpose of the law for the Israelites was to, number one, bring about the knowledge of sin, and number two, to protect his chosen people at that time. Yeah. And basically, when Jesus comes in the New Testament and he comes down to earth, his earthly ministry, because I forget sometimes Christ had a ministry. He didn't just come to die. Obviously that was his end goal, but he had what, like 3 or 4 years of ministry on earth. I can't remember the time.
It was 3 years.
3 years, and basically, obviously, he summed up the law: love the Lord your God, and then love your neighbor as yourself. Yeah. And so when you're looking as a Christian or a non-Christian, it's actually not super helpful to say, go line by line and say like, oh, well, God says yes on this, God says no on this. You have to look at God's collective nature.
And that's the issue is you can't just throw out those verses because they were old law. I mean, you kind of can say they were fulfilled in Jesus Christ. Right. So it's like, yeah, now I can eat shrimp, especially when they gave, I think it was Peter.
It's the vision.
The vision. He's like, oh, we get to eat stuff now. Also, I get to wear stuff. Also, I believe that tattoos aren't sinful unless you get something sinful tattooed.
Sure.
I don't think, because the reason that verse was set up was don't cut yourself, don't mark yourself like the Gentiles.
Exactly. That was the biggest thing.
Meaning, if you're going to get a tattoo, get something that doesn't
defile the temple.
Yeah. I'm personally probably not going to get one. Yeah. That's just me. But when people say like, oh, it says in Leviticus, don't get a tattoo. Or I'm like, okay.
Of the nose or the ear.
Let's read everything. Yeah, exactly.
Right. I actually read that when the different animals were being brought down on a sheet in front of Peter, I've read that was actually not only about the food, but more about how the Gentiles, that was a representation of the Gentiles, and how they were brought into the fold of Abraham's promise and the Israelites, Abraham's descendants as well.
Yeah. But so back to what I was saying was Guarantee, he read this in an article about like why is homosexuality bad or good, and they say, oh, it's old law, you know, you don't need that anymore, completely ignoring that it's talked about in 1 Corinthians 6:9. I think it's 1 Corinthians 6:9, also in Romans 1, also in what's that, like 1 Thessalonians 6, I think, you know, I don't know, it's mentioned so many times. Jesus himself says, reaffirms that from the beginning that marriage is between a man and woman, they shouldn't divorce.
He sets up natural order, and then he goes out of his way. Paul does this all the time. He does name names and point out specific sins. It's like homosexuality.
Yeah.
I think it's like.
And I think we think about it too much, because homosexuality is so obviously wrong for the fact that there's no procreation from it.
Yep.
If you looked at it from a biological standpoint, an evolutionary standpoint, I don't even support evolution, but evolution doesn't support homosexuality.
It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make any sense. It never makes sense. It only makes sense to deranged minds. That's really what it is, which we read in Romans 1. God gave them up to their
pride,
God gave them up to their deranged minds, and now we get this, and now we get it in our face in every single commercial, and it's obnoxious. It's so gross.
Yep,
it's disgusting.
I was watching. I can't remember. I think I was watching the Amazon Prime Invincible TV show. I really like the TV show, but my friend reminded me as I was just rewatching a clip of it on YouTube.
There's the gay friend.
There's the gay friend, not just like, hey, I'm gay, whatever. It's like that's his personality and the gay relationships, and it's just number one, it's cringe, and number two, it's actually like stomach turning. Like
it's gross.
Have this like aversion to it.
I am old enough to remember when you didn't talk about homosexuality.
Yeah.
I remember when it was weird, stigmatized on a whole national level.
Yeah.
No such thing as homosexual marriage. I had one family member who was gay, but he kept it down low.
Right.
Don't talk about it. Then 2010, and then 2013 when gay marriage was released, and then now look at us. We have people who want to have sex with dogs in office. Like, it's disgusting.
It's crazy.
How
fast.
The ripple effect went from we just want to get married and you know be gay, and now it's like we want to have sex with your children and when they're 2 years old, and it's like, wait, what happened? Like, why did? So it's disgusting. It's foul. It doesn't take a genius to know that it's wrong. We are just so accustomed to it in our national talking points, the news, everywhere. Every single TV show has a gay character. They have a lesbian character, and we have just become so used to it that it no longer affects us.
It's sinful. It's just, and obviously you separate the person from the sin itself. Like you know, Christ ate and congregated and talked to sinners, right? But he didn't glorify the sin. He didn't.
Oh, absolutely. I don't hate gay people.
Right.
They need Jesus just as much as I do, if not more.
Dude, I see you, and I actually pity them in the sense of, to some degree, God has given them over to their sin and the lust of the flesh, and I pity them because I'm like, hey, number one, that's harmful on a mental level, on a physical level, and on an eternal
spiritual level.
I'm like, dude.
And then a lot of people will say, like, this is where I slightly agree with people when they say, like, the church is so outspoken on homosexuality, but they're missing divorce or sex outside of marriage or fornication or all that sort of thing. True, they're missing all of that. But homosexuality is an unnatural sin.
It's a line. It is a line, and it is.
It's an unnatural sin.
It's unnatural.
In the sense, it's not natural. It's unnatural sin. There's natural sin, like lusting after a woman if you're straight. That's kind of a natural sin. That's not as bad.
Do you mean? So I've always it's not natural because it's not right. It wasn't created, but I do think it's a natural sin. In that it's more of a follow-up. It's not like immediately people are like, I'm gay now because I'm a sinner.
It's unnatural. Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed for it. You know, Rome fell shortly after they became super gay.
Holistic debauchery, but that's like the front runner.
Yeah.
People like to point out that the church is overt about like sexual sin, which I think is harmful in the sense that you can't get help for other stuff. It's somewhat glorified in the sense that that's all they look at, but it is one of the ones that you can see super clearly, and it is a big one to address because that's, you know, how cultures devolve is kind of starting with that sexual debauchery. You can see that Romans just basically, you can predict and see how a society will crumble.
Well, even in the church of Corinth was crazy, and it's because in Corinth you could legal prostitution, you were allowed to sleep with your mother, like you were allowed to sleep with whoever you wanted.
Yeah.
Women were allowed to sleep with young boys, and you know, where are they today? Ashes, you know, like it's not, they're not around anymore.
I'm actually, I am continually surprised. Every day I wake up, I say, God, thank you for today. Thank you for allowing me to wake up and go about my day. And thank you for basically allowing me to continue to live, and for putting off your judgment, not suspending it, right? But it's like, we have the opportunity to live here just because of the rampant sin.
Every day that our nation hasn't collapsed yet is a chance for redemption.
And that motivates me. Oh, thank you, Lord. One more day. Hacksaw Ridge. One more, God. One more. Let me get one more. Let me evangelize one more.
Yeah. All right. Let's keep watching here.
Or eat cloven-hooved animals, which includes cows, pigs, goats, things that we regularly.
So keep in mind, this is a really minute issue people have with the Bible, and then say, we got to throw out the whole Bible because of these verses.
So there's a lot of things that just don't make sense, and we still perpetuate that going forward.
No, we don't.
So then it raises other questions that you have going forward. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm totally fine with other people being Christian and all that, but I was always raised with that mentality of ask questions, and if you don't get the answer, you're stuck with that. Like, you're stuck.
And that's bad. This is how I was raised as well, a little bit, in the sense of, hey, why is this like this? Because the Bible says so. Okay, great. I'm going to walk away from the church, no problem, because nothing's keeping me here. We need to be teaching our children apologetics. And this is the huge issue in the church. I think it's getting better depending on the church you go to. Yeah. But the reason so many millennials and then Gen Z kids are outside of the church is because we're not answering questions. We need to be studying the Bible. Fathers need to be teaching the Bible to their wives and then to their children.
And living it out.
You cannot outweigh 40 hours in a public school with an hour of Sunday school. It doesn't work.
Yes.
So learn some apologetics, preach to your children, and then they won't leave the faith. Train up your children in righteousness, and they will not depart from it.
And also, don't be afraid of using like scientific and somewhat secular means to answer your kids' questions. Like, I have faith that the Bible is true. I can verify that. I can see that. And so I can extrapolate themes in the Bible and answer questions saying, hey, look, the Bible doesn't directly address the subject, but let's see, kind of where it might and where it's supported. Like, you don't have to just say, hey, I have no idea, or only stick to the absolute word of the Bible. Basically looking at God's nature, you can say, hey, here's where God generally agrees and disagrees. That's the Christian liberty, the matter of the conscience of the heart.
Yeah, don't be afraid of science. Science isn't evil. Science is just observations through time.
Science is supported by logic creation and what God supports. God supports the universe and the inner workings of everything. So I'm not afraid. I'm like, remember the era when scientists like, here's my theory, test it, please, I want someone to prove me wrong, please.
Yeah, now Fauci's like, here's my truth. I'm living my truth, and it's like, you have to live it too.
Almighty Fauci,
but yeah,
we bow before you.
Questions shouldn't make you go, oh my goodness, I'm scared that I'm gonna lose my faith. No, questions help us grow in our faith. You think God, the creator of the universe, and you and me, as our Father, is scared of questions?
Absolutely not.
I think he's bigger than questions, and I think he can answer them through the wisdom of other people, older people, books, whatever that looks like.
With no answer.
Yeah. And that actually greatly offends me too, because growing up, it's like, kids have questions, and the church a lot of the times is like, the Bible says so. And it's like, well, can we at least like explain it somehow? Like, can we think about it, mull it over? So yeah, I agree with you on that.
And just
I agreed with the Satanist.
Also, you're building rapport with him. This is part of loving your neighbor, right? So whenever you evangelize, there is room for street preaching and strictly just condemning what is evil, promoting what is good, talking about the gospel. But also, if you truly care about someone, if you truly care about where they end up, you're going to try and influence them. You're not just going to condemn them. You're going to try and build something.
I left Alex that day with his number, and he said, I'd love to talk again someday.
Yeah, that's a win. You're planting seeds. You're tilling the ground. You're watering the soil. You don't have to. I don't know. He's not a weed to just eradicate. You know, he's a human being created in the image of God that needs Christ.
How dare you, sir?
Was written 4,000 years ago. And obviously some things will apply, like don't murder, don't rape, don't steal. But then other things don't apply, because then you hit that moral gray area. And so how do you answer that moral gray?
Yeah.
And that's where I sort of found like the Church of Satan, and it was that mentality of you can ask questions, and if you don't get the answer, continue to ask questions, continue to look
smug.
into it. Because like on the back of the membership card, there's actually the tenets.
Yeah.
And I can read through them if you want, but you can also go on the website. It's a totally free organization. You only have to spend like $15, but you get like a certificate and the card. And they actually use that money to do things around the United States that's actually beneficial. Like talking about abortion rights. The mentality
He brought it
of
up,
the
not
Church of
me.
Satan is
So yeah, he brought it into abortion.
He didn't know who he was dealing with here.
Get ready for some sled.
I went to the March for Life. I'm a better Christian than you.
that, well, it's your body. You know, the child is in your body. So
Does a woman give birth to her body?
Oh, get wrecked, Alex. Does a woman give birth to her body? Wait for his response. This next response will shock you.
not
Scientists hate him.
Scientists
Doctors
hate him.
him.
reality with the Church of Satan is that, well, it's your body.
Oh my goodness, I went
The
back too
child
far.
is in your body. So
Does a woman give birth to her body?
well, not necessarily. It's
Not
sort of like
necessarily.
the child that
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's a little bit of a
And
stumper.
And I appreciate him being honest in this whole interaction. That
Yeah.
was somewhat refreshing, and he allowed the critique to stand, and so that was nice.
Yeah.
grows within you is your property. While
Okay, so this is where he gets slightly base, but also he's not, because he's like, so children are property, which I'm like, I mean, obviously, children are a gift from God, we're told, and you're supposed to take care of them, and you are in charge of them, you know, in terms of raising them correctly, raising them in the faith.
The issue is now is we look at children as their own individual beings, and we say, oh, they can't go untainted from the world. We can't.
Yeah.
We can't. What's the hot word right now?
I'm not sure. What do you mean?
When we teach them stuff.
Shelter? What do you mean?
No, I'm forgetting it.
I'm not sure what you're.
When
going
teachers teach them stuff, and we all freak out that they're.
Indoctrination.
Yeah, indoctrination.
Okay, yeah.
Like, we're indoctrinating children. Yeah, they don't
Brainwashing.
know anything. We have to indoctrinate
Oh,
them.
I
with
hate the argument.
something.
I saw a TikTok several months ago, but it's like, imagine brainwashing your kids and raising them in the stuff that you believe. It's like, what are you going to teach them?
Something
Your
I don't
worldview?
believe. Like,
I mean,
is
obviously,
dumb.
you want, and as a Christian and Baptist, as I was raised, I wasn't super raised to think for myself. I was a little bit, but a lot of it was, hey, these are the things.
I
to
wasn't
think.
raised to think for myself until I was 16. And up
that's-
until then, it was like, you think like this.
right, and that's a legitimate critique. I mean,
And I think that's
with
okay.
Young children, like under 10, their simple minds, you want to say, hey, that's what's right and wrong. This is what you should and should not do. But at a certain point, that relationship should change to that of an adolescent and that of a young adult, and then finally an adult outside the home.
Yeah.
It should grow, and you should allow freedom and say, hey, these are the hard and fast, like do not murder, do not steal, all these different things. But also, these are the areas that we have Christian liberty in. This is what our family believes. There is somewhat of a, you're under our roof. These are our beliefs. You know, we're going to require you to do these things as long as you're under our house. And that's just respect. That's the authority. But it should grow in a natural, healthy relationship. It should grow from the do's and don'ts to, hey, this is why we believe what we believe. We hope that
Yeah.
you.
And if your kid is, smart as a whip, you can always explain stuff. That would be nice,
Just have conversation with your kid. You
Yeah.
know?
I mean, I was obviously a child genius, and I didn't get a lot of explanations for stuff, so I had to learn things the hard way.
while it's within you,
But not when it's outside of you.
because then it becomes its own human being.
Okay.
So I jump in later, but because the whole sled argument is like size, level of development, environment, etc. And it just doesn't make any sense. The fact that and Dryden hops on this about preemie babies, basically. So it's not the duration of the time in the womb. It's literally just
when they are out.
It's just, are you like inside the womb or literally like a foot outside the woman's body? Then you're a child. It doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah. And this is where the conversation changes drastically, where we go from just talking about like, oh, you're a Satanist, cool. I'm a Christian, cool. Let's talk about abortion. And this is where I bit because I love talking about this.
And looking at like Jewish culture, the child or like the fetus only becomes a fetus or a child when it quickens.
Yeah.
With that mentality of like, back then they thought it was a liquid until it started kicking, and that's when it.
Regardless of what people thought, now we know that an embryo has its own unique DNA.
Yes.
Dang.
Yeah. So then it also goes into that mentality of like, well, do you count a heartbeat as the starting of a life or the starting of...
So what I admire about Alex, or is it Alex or Alec?
It's Alex.
Alex. He is asking the right questions, but he's actually settling. He's settling for the wrong answers. He's asking, hey, do we look at a heartbeat? Do we look at the nerves?
He is kind of like, when does a baby become a baby? Oh, it doesn't matter, I'm a guy, which he says later.
Right.
You know, it's kind of sad. It's like, dude, man up.
And
like,
you go into this later.
A lot of people get mad at me for being a man against abortion. They're like, you don't have uterus. No uterus, no opinion. It's like, okay, shut up, wench.
a brain and neurons or all that. Personally, I think once it leaves someone else's body, then it becomes a full-fledged human being.
So what if it's a preemie baby?
Well, as I said, it comes out of the person.
So this is where I really
it
challenge
becomes a
his
full-fledged
beliefs.
Individual becomes a human being. When it's within the mother, it's still the mother's decision. Now, mind you, I'm not saying that like third trimester is, you know...
Just so we're clear, a mother's decision. We don't add the rest of the sentence. The rest of the sentence is, it's a mother's decision whether or not her offspring will die or live. Instead, we just shorten it to mother's decision because it sounds nicer.
Yeah.
Acceptable for all that. But, I mean, there are certain decisions that need to be made for medical reasons or certain things that need to happen for...
So there are very, very rare circumstances where basically medically the mother's life is in jeopardy because of the pregnancy, and even in those circumstances,
it's very rare, but
directly
usually
abort the baby. You basically, and you know, it gets a little bit murky, but you do whatever you need to save the mother, and if the child passes away because of those things,
and it's usually there is such thing as
kill.
Like a parasitical child,
sure,
like an actual parasite baby. In the sense of like something went wrong, it's already kind of dead. It's just now like a parasitical. My mom told me about it a long time ago. She's a nurse. I'm not.
But
it's different than like it's a parasite.
You're trying to assist the mother, and if that happens,
which is still inherently pro-life because we're trying to save the life of the mother.
Absolutely.
Because that is just as important. It's not that her life is more important. Both have intrinsic value as they are both humans. It's just.
But also medically, you're addressing the human with the greatest need, in terms of you're able. It's like you're able to do something about the mother, not as able to do something about the child.
Well, this is an argument people love: is who are you going to save? Your wife in a burning building, or a burning building with 1,000 embryos,
random kids, or what you know?
And you say, okay, that doesn't determine the value of life. That's just a simple, who am I going to save? Obviously, me being biased, I'm going to save my wife. If there's 2 kids in a burning building,
and one of them's my little sibling, and one of them's a random kid, would I try and grab both of them? Yes, but if I had to choose, I'd choose my sibling.
I would choose my sibling. And,
that's just...
But does that mean that the other, not even embryo, child is not as valuable?
No.
Maybe not as valuable to me, but their humanity is not under...
And it's not just, oh, I'm going to leave them to burn. It's like, oh, would I go up and shoot the other kid and take my sibling? No, it's not even, hey, we're going to allow the child the child in the body.
It's also
may
just
die.
Stupid to argue hypotheticals. It's so lame.
These are fringe things, and we can have the conversation, but it's not super profitable. It's better to stay on subject,
topic,
which you did in the video.
Well, like if you can't take care of the child, then you have to make the best decision for everybody.
See, I've always thought that interesting. Like, oh, what if the child grows up poor? You know, should we?
Okay, so this is where you pop off a little bit, but everything that an or a pro-abortionist says, you can basically trot out the argument saying,
just keep
how
it
would
going.
this apply to a toddler, to a child of a younger age who's already been born?
And this is where people and my this is where stupid idiots in my TikTok comments got mad at me. They're like, you were putting words in his mouth. No, I wasn't. Just listen to this.
You go around killing all poor people because that's a miserable life?
Oh, obviously not. Like, I'm not saying that,
Obviously.
you should kill all poor people, but then you do have to ask that question of, I mean, especially like going forward, like the climate crisis.
What question?
And,
What question?
The wage gap and all that. You have to.
What wage
Can you
gap?
afford to raise?
I'm sorry, what wage gap?
Which is,
I was like, what wage gap are we talking
he's
about
not
here?
ready. He's.
I mean,
oh my gosh.
well, the difference
It's just like buzzwords. Like, oh, the climate change and the wage gap. And it's like, whatever my professor said yesterday.
between like actual like blue collar workers and versus white collar workers, where CEOs and people running companies.
I'm sorry, but right now, blue collar workers are killing it.
Yeah.
They're making bank right now. Actual skills, man.
Paid 300 times to 1,200 times the average worker. So I mean, Americans now are overworked and underpaid, and some people are working 3 jobs just to pay
I think it's
rent.
more like
And
our
now,
tyrannical government
let's say
taxing us.
a woman gets pregnant, or somebody with a uterus gets.
Notice he's struggling to verify the humanity of a child in the womb. A fetus is a level of development, so obviously they can be their child, right? But the fetus is just the stage of development.
No, listen to what he's saying right now. It's very interesting. It's very.
What is he trying to say?
Listen to this.
Trot around it.
Or working 3 jobs just to pay rent, and now, let's say a woman gets pregnant.
Let's say a woman gets pregnant. How does that happen? 99% of abortions are from consent. 1% of abortions every year are from rape. So, oh, she just got pregnant. No, you tramp. You had your legs open, your dude was horny, and you got pregnant. Consent to sex is consent to parenthood.
You said
I'm sorry.
do it.
Unless you're wearing a condom or you have birth control or whatever, that's what you get what you sign up for.
Yeah, I think you dropped this later on. He doesn't get it for a second, but you're like, yeah, I'm pro-choice.
And
Pro-choice to have sex.
That's something I think
because
in the future I'm
that's the
not going to
decision.
say, and we'll talk about that when it comes up because
you don't wanna
it's just too
play into their
confusing.
argument. It's just,
Yeah.
Or somebody with a uterus gets pregnant. I mean, they're still working 3 jobs.
Yeah, because there's some men with uteruses, by the way. 2022, I hate my life. I just want to work on a farm, have like a awesome hot trad wife with like 12 kids. I want like 16 kids and like 30 dogs and just like 50,000 guns
and like
just
amazing
just
range
leave me alone.
and
Yeah.
a dirt track and motorcycles.
Yeah,
and like
I live off my own handiwork. You know, I have cattle, chickens, a garden farm. You know, my 80 kids are growing crops.
just
and,
reaping. Yeah.
yeah, you know, that's what I want out of life. I'm so tired of actually, men can have uteruses too. Yeah? Like who?
But now they also have to care for a child if they can't.
So let me ask you this then, just kind of rein it in. I'm pro-choice.
So this is where I messed up. And as I just said, and look, Jack, great editor, pro-choice in deciding to engage in procreation. I'm not going to say this anymore because it adds too much confusion.
Yeah.
I am 100% pro-life in all circumstances, especially rape cases. I am 100% pro-life.
Yeah.
What I am saying here is I'm trying to be witty. I'm trying to be a smart aleck, okay? Forgive me. But what I am saying here is I am pro-choice in the fact that you can choose to have sex or not, other than the cases of rape and incest, obviously. Okay? Forgive me, please. I do confuse him a little bit. It adds another 20 seconds to the conversation. I'm just a kid. Leave me alone.
I believe you can choose to have sex or not.
Yeah.
And so I think that's on
Alex is like, yeah.
Yeah.
the woman. I don't think that a child should have to die because a woman wanted to have sex.
Well. All right. So
Because we know the consequences of sex. Consequences doesn't mean a negative thing. We just know that it means that if sex naturally leads to pregnancy. So I believe you can choose to have, safe sex or not, but I don't think that a unique embryo, a child, that we know that they develop to be a human, even if you don't think that they're one in the womb, I don't think they deserve to die because of your actions.
So with that, Yes, sex is a choice, but there's also complications that can arise. There's accidents.
Okay.
And so it's not always a black or white scenario.
I'm not sure what he means by this.
What he means by this is there's accidents, meaning the condom broke, or she thought she was on the pill and missed it, or
Right,
something like that. Does a baby still have to die for an accident? The baby wasn't the accident. It's not the baby's fault that
you got to
it now
separate
exists.
the situation.
Yeah.
The situation from the value of the person.
Yeah.
And with that, it's not always a black and white scenario on if, abortion is a right or wrong answer. Because,
See, what atheists love about the whole moral gray, black and white thing is that you can do whatever you want. Morality is subjective.
He says,
I think that's okay.
As long as it doesn't interact with another person, but everything you do interacts with another person.
Yeah. So, you can do whatever you want, black or white. Everything's gray, moral area. As Christians, we understand that we have morality, and it is as upsetting as it is, pretty black and white when it comes to the Bible.
Yeah.
And it's not strict. It's not the worst thing in the world. It's like, hey, don't kill people, be nice to people, treat people how you want to be treated, have sex after you're married to one woman for the rest of your life.
God knows best. These are for a reason.
All these are here to really free us.
Yes.
Like, you say, well, I want to have sex outside of marriage. You're setting yourself up for hurt.
There's so many things that could go wrong.
So many things could go wrong.
It will go
it's
wrong.
Painful. The boundaries are set up so you can be
if
free.
And when you eventually marry, that's going to affect you massively.
Oh my goodness, do I have an STD? I don't know.
Right. And the biggest thing is, like, people like to talk about taking sex outside of marriage, which is a sin, which is wrong, but taking sex outside of love, like, sex should be an outpouring of love for your spouse. It should be holistic. It should be something where we're engaging in something because we love
even
each
more
other.
than just that. Every sin leads to death.
Yes. Yeah. Whether in this life or the next, natural
It
consequences
leads to
of sin.
death.
Yeah.
So this moral gray has got to go.
From what I understand, most children that end up being born are wanted. And
there's about 32 couples per child, at least for infants. I know older teens, like, they don't get adopted as much, but for infants, there's 32 couples waiting to adopt a single infant.
Dang, Dryden with the statistics. Whew.
So when
I
it
thought I
comes
dropped
to
in I must have forgotten
the mentality of, like,
Fired.
consequences of your actions and all that,
Dang it. Maybe you should just cut my salary, man.
Yeah,
you're
you're down to zero.
Damn.
I understand, but there should be avenues available, and it shouldn't be counted as a moral failing if you have to choose to
This
look
just
after
in,
yourself
murder, not
and
a
your future.
moral failing.
And of course the child's future, because sometimes it's better to remove
Don't pause
any
it. We've paused it
potential
now.
future pain from that child
This is
ahead of time
Easy,
than
easy
to
again.
carry it to term and then try to put it in the adoption process.
Sometimes
Stop. It's so
easier.
easy. It's so no. Just let me respond. We don't even need to explain this one. This is an easy one.
Or try to
So babies who are up for adoption don't deserve to live because adoption's difficult?
You're putting
no,
words in his mouth.
obviously not. It's just saying that sometimes it's
what
up
you're
to the
saying
person's
is-
choice. And of course it shouldn't be counted as a moral failing if they choose to take that route.
Wait.
That route.
But the
See,
baby
this is another argument that pisses me off from weak Christians. Oh, if we completely ban abortion, people are still going to get abortions, but then it's going to be unsafe for the mother and the child. Yeah. Good.
It's
I'm sorry, but consequences are a good thing. Oh my goodness, I can't murder as easy because now it might affect my own health. Good. And we don't even talk about the fact that abortion is already incredibly difficult on a woman's body.
Yes.
Some women,
Yes.
after their first abortion, can never have children again.
Not even to mention the mental.
The guilt that comes with it, the shame. Talk to any woman who's actually open about it, about her abortion. It's always filled with regret. It's always regret. It's always, my body was in pain. I was bleeding for hours, especially the pills. They say, oh, you just take the little pill. That's
No.
it. No, you will be flooding blood out of your body, and you will be, borderline passed out for the next day. It's terrible.
Yeah.
And so when people say, oh, if we ban abortion, people are going to get unsafe abortions. Good. We need to bring consequences back for bad things.
Yes.
We have lost that as a society that says, oh, looting's okay. You can steal up to $900 in California.
Gosh.
You can steal. It's okay. You can do drugs on the street in Seattle and then take a crap.
if you want.
Yeah. You can take a poopy on the streets of Seattle. No problem. We have lost consequences as a society, and now we just have a bunch of retards that get out on $1,000 bail and then go and knife a woman 40 times in the back. Happened last week. I'm pretty sure it was like last week. Another dude, guess what? A black guy. What? You can't say that? It's true. We are letting people, criminals, out on the streets. And it's always like a white woman who's typing on her computer, free our boy. He didn't do anything wrong. Bail reform. $1,000 bail. Do you know how easy it is to get $1,000 if you want to get out of jail? And then you get out. And then what do? You
you get
drive
$1,000,
into
Dryden?
like, how many people was it at Waukesha? Into like 40 people? Yeah. Let me just
Holy
drive into 40
crap.
people. These people deserve to rot, or
Just kill him.
just kill them.
Whoops, let's go back to Old Testament.
I
Did you
miss
know
the death sentence.
There's no biblical support for prison. It's like if you do
That's
something
true.
so bad, you should die.
That's
or
true.
repay your if you're stealing.
It was
your
repay
neighbor.
or die.
Yes.
And I think we should go back to that.
Easy.
Repay or die. I honestly
do it.
miss that. There's so many pussy Christians that are like, the death sentence, we're not the ones to judge. Look, this motherfricker killed someone, and they killed someone. And the dude at Kenosha raped 5 boys.
why isn't that already dead?
That guy should have already been burning in hell. But Dryden, you're judging him. He judged himself.
Yeah.
He did that. Those were his choices. Oh, you don't accidentally rape 5 boys. No. That guy deserved what he got, and obviously Kyle Rittenhouse isn't a hero for that. He wasn't proactive.
Right.
It was just a defensive thing.
yeah.
So obviously I'm not gonna praise Kyle Rittenhouse for killing that thing. I'm not in support of vigilantes. I'm not in support of just like, oh, let's just go kill all the people. No, obviously I still believe in the death penalty, and obviously if someone's
government that
attacking
should
me,
bear the
I'm
sword. That's the
definitely
role.
having self-defense.
Romans 13.
But obviously we have laws, but I'm tired of this society where we just, oh, you did something bad, that's okay, go back out on the streets and then rape more women, and they get on bail again.
That being said, so there's a difference between a criminal offense and a civil offense. There is a difference.
Yeah.
If it's civil, like yes.
yeah, if you have a parking ticket, pay it off. We don't need to kill you for that.
But guess what? The church should be the one helping with the rehab and helping people get back on their feet. Like
the church should be doing a lot more.
That should
I mean,
be-
obviously,
and then
religion that's
not
pure
even
and
just-
undefiled
not
before
even
God
like,
is helping widows and children, and that should be our thing. The church should be, what's it called, medical help or whatever.
Oh yeah.
The
And hot take, it shouldn't just be like, oh yeah, the Baptist church on the corner is where you go to get food. It should be no. The church body, the body of believers, like come to my house right now. I will make you some bread. Like
Exactly. Remember the
body of the
verses where
church.
Jesus says, if your friend doesn't have a cloak, take the one off your back and give it to him.
Yes.
I'm sorry, and people are always, I hate this. Christians are so frustrating. I'm talking about the weak ones that don't really just, this tolerant, like, oh, just be nice to everyone. And they're like, well, what are you doing for poor people? I'm doing the best I can. I make these videos. I am praying for people. I am going to church. I am evangelizing weekly. Like, what more do you want from me? Like, I'm sorry for calling you guys out. You guys can obviously call me out, but I am helping the poor. I just don't promote it because God says, don't let your right hand know what your left hand is doing.
Yeah.
I'm not doing things
into your inner
for
closet to
for my
pray.
own glory.
Yeah.
It's so frustrating, but I've uploaded those videos of like, the church should be doing more to help the poor. And then people are like, what are you doing to help the poor? And it's like, you idiot, you missed the entire point, the entire concept of what I'm talking about. You dumb, unnuanced person. I'm so sick of this. Let's keep watching.
Doesn't get the choice.
Well, I mean, babies don't get a choice anyway. Did any of us ask to be born?
Facts.
I enjoy my life. I think it's been.
Man, it's great to be white.
Honestly,
just
dude, it's so funny because like I used to throw that at my parents. Like, I didn't ask to be born. Now I have to pay taxes. Like, so kind of facts.
Blessing to be born. So.
But of course, there's people out there that don't think that. So,
Don't.
Yeah.
We already know.
Touch the pause button.
That's true.
Life is still valuable.
Yeah.
Oh, this is where I kind of stumble on my words, but my whole point was basically, if people hate themselves, then why aren't people just committing suicides on like a massive scale? And they kind of are, in a sense.
Oh, it's increased
his whole
terribly.
point is basically like, if you hate your life, you'll just kill yourself. But I'm like, people do have a self-preservation nature that is actually like a low key.
I watched a TikTok forever ago, and it was this girl, and she was like, guess what? Actually, I don't like that I'm alive, and I never had consent to be born, which is the most retarded
Why didn't you
statement
make
you
this
could ever
TikTok?
say.
Why didn't you just off
And
yourself?
that's exactly what I'm saying.
Like-
and she's like, and also my husband thinks the same way.
Oh.
Hey, husband, do you wish you were born? No, not really. I'm like, you both are married. You both obviously love each other because they weren't divorced. They were currently married.
You're able to have that intimate conversation.
You have that conversation. Yeah. So it's like, why don't you kill yourself right now? Prove it. Prove it. Like, why are you? I wish I wasn't born. Okay, do something about it. I'm sorry, but like
And
the fact that you're making this video shows that you
this
think
is-
life is worth living
Now-
because you're still alive.
Now, this is Satan messing with the minds of humans, because guess
Yeah.
what? You haven't killed yourself yet, so therefore you do value life, and that's the grace of God that we have.
But you
that
think you
fundamental-
don't.
Exactly. It's people are deceived. That, like we are told, Satan is the deceiver. People are deceiving themselves. Satan is deceiving these people into believing that. Yeah, I know we have halfway to go. I know
Yeah.
we're going, but it's just it's really sad, and I feel for them.
Let's just keep watching. We're almost an hour in, and we're only halfway through this video.
Maybe we should do a part 2.
No, this is going on
No,
Spotify.
All right, we'll see.
This will go up tomorrow on Spotify and everything.
Okay.
I don't know. So something that I thought was interesting. You said that we keep asking questions and we keep trying to find answers. Something that's cool about like the Old Testament laws, when you talk about like, why can't I eat shrimp? Well, there's actually like reasons why they weren't allowed to eat shrimp, but now in the New Testament you can eat shrimp. Like, it's totally fine. So I would just suggest, just like on your own time, like keep researching those questions, because they're actually pretty fascinating once you get into them.
Yeah.
So,
But
yeah.
if you wanted to go over that for a moment, of course,
He's trying to evangelize you, Dryden.
I'm just the 4,000-year-old book that won't have all the answers.
Well, it's 2,000 years old.
New Testament.
Well, then there you go. It's a 2,000-year-old book. Won't have all the answers, but I don't know. It's just one of those things where it's not an either or. You can still be somebody who supports the church and somebody who supports the temple. So
Yeah.
I have a question. Where do you get your morals? Like, how do you, how you said there's black and white. How do you know what the gray zone is, and how do you make your moral decisions?
Yeah, I want to know where he's at.
So I'm always with that stance of like the golden rule. Only
Christian.
do unto others what
Where
you
did
would
that
do
come
to
from?
yourself.
Which is inherently Christian.
Oh, get wrecked.
Well, I mean, it.
Like, and if I didn't care about my life,
Jesus wrote the
like,
golden
what
rule.
if I didn't want to die? What if different things? Like, how does that work? If we have totally different morals.
Well, it also goes into that mentality of
I'm sorry. No, I need to say one thing. Like, this is where he's saying morality only extends as far as your arm doesn't hit someone else. But what if someone else? That's why libertarianism doesn't work. You can't be a libertarian because you want to leave people alone, but no one wants to leave you alone.
Exactly.
Because what if my
have
morality
two groups
says
of people
it's
right
okay
now.
to kill people?
Yeah.
It's okay to do, and people have a general morality to follow God's law, but also people are so sinful that they do have a different morality, and they do think that rape and murder
Yeah.
are okay.
I look like an anime character right now.
you don't interact or you don't impose on other people's autonomy. So it also gets
So like an embryo.
Oh, get wrecked! Stoop down! Oh, shoot. We don't like to encroach on people's inherent rights, and we don't like
Autonomy.
to... Autonomy and bodily autonomy.
So an embryo.
Get wrecked. Ben Shapiro moment.
Well, I mean, it's a very. Yeah, it is a difficult.
Well, so a lot of people say, well,
It's
it's part of the woman's
difficult
body. It
because you cannot defend it.
depends on the mother. The thing is, all toddlers, all babies depend on their parents. To an extent, until you're grown up, you depend on someone. So should we be able to kill babies because they depend on their parents, just like an embryo, a fetus depends on its mother? Does the location matter when it comes to depending on a mother?
The 6-inch birth canal. You said inside and outside a mother. That's 6 inches. Does that define the value of a human life? You know, you can get into like the illegal alien where it's like, hey, are they a person if they're outside our border or inside our border?
Yeah,
Why
just
does that location
comparison.
make a difference?
Well,
Because this whole idea of the body being a temple, being so core, don't infringe on my right to my body. Well, embryos, fetuses, they are their own unique DNA from the mother and father. And I don't think their location matters. And I don't think we should just, infringe on their right to their own temple.
Their body, right? So, what do you think about that? What were your thoughts?
I was trying to kind of diffuse.
Oh,
I didn't want him to be
it is a
angry.
multifaceted problem. So trust me,
So this is where he deflects.
I get your point.
He knows what I'm saying.
Yeah,
he
he
knows
gets
he
it.
can't defend himself. So what is he going to turn to? Oh, I'm a guy. I can't have an opinion.
Points, and I mean, I am also pro-choice, and I mean, I'm a guy, so I don't really get
Well,
the final thing in it.
I think you get that I'm pro-life, but pro-choice if you could have sex or not. So just to clarify.
Okay, well, I'm pro-choice in that it's up to the person actually carrying the fetus, and
To
so
kill a baby, murder.
yes, you're right that. I mean,
Clarification.
human life has inherent value, but at the same
Why?
time,
Why?
you shouldn't only think about the 9 to 10 months that it's in the mother. You have to think about the 18 years they have as a child, and then of course the however long they.
Or the 32 couples trying to adopt one infant.
And so obviously, I mean, like the adoption process needs to be looked at in a more positive light, and so it needs to be expanded and easier for people that do want to have children and can't, or
So the Church of Satanism, are they big on adoption?
from what I know, yeah.
This was my
it's
victory lap.
more
Like, this
of
is where I
that
should have just shut up.
trying to
but
help
I just kept going.
individuals. Let's see. Let me pull out. Just make sure.
Because I love statistics. I like statistics. I'm kind of a statistics guy, and I
I'm kind of
read
a
that it's actually
statistics guy.
Christians that are 2 times more
smart.
likely to adopt than any other American citizen.
Oh well.
So if we could get the Church of Satanism up there, that'd be great. Because I don't want to see, abortions.
See, I
but,
know
yeah.
that there's going to be some Christian mad at me who's like, you told Satanists to adopt children? How dare you? They're not going to do it. You really think that
It's sarcasm.
me
It's-
convincing a Satanist to adopt more is suddenly the Church of Satanism is adopting children in droves, which would be, at least better than dying. But it's like, you really think that you guys are so dumb. It's just-
Yeah, and so I mean, I don't know the statistics off the top of my head, and you're welcome to look into it after this. But
Yeah.
it's just the mentality of trying to act with compassion and empathy, and so obviously that empathy extends to people here and not here yet, and the processes of helping children that have been born or in the adoption process and foster care, and people who are actively looking for those, because I mean, if you have the opportunity to have a child, then all the power to you. But if you can't, you still have to weigh your decisions. And if something happens, as you said, the pro-choice to have sex, if something happens, there needs to be
it's just
options
words.
available
Yeah.
to protect your life going forward and understand that, your choices matter, but then looking at the future as well.
Yeah.
It's
especially
just
for
a whole lot
child.
of air.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I think that we should look into the choices, and I think the choices are quite obvious. Don't have sex, have safe sex, or put up your child for adoption, or love that child and be its mother. So I don't see, death as an option, but yeah, I mean, I understand where you're coming from, so.
I kind of want to end it here because we got into, we
Yeah.
started talking, this is a good ending point.
Yep.
Because eventually we got into the whole thing of like, oh, well, that's not your choice. That's not your decision to tell someone what they do is wrong.
Yeah.
And then I said, well, if I heard about a murder in California I had nothing to do with, can I still say that murder is wrong?
That's
and then he
injustice.
says, no, it's only for the family to decide. So essentially any sort of murder or death is up to the family. It's all just subjective. There's no objective view of murder or whatever, which is funny because he inherently knows, because the law is written on his heart by God, that murder is wrong in every circumstance. You cannot justify it in any way other than self-defense. But that's not murder, and that's a different conversation. So that is my conversation with a Satanist. Very nice guy. His name is Alex. I enjoyed talking to him.
Yeah.
I don't have any hate in my heart for him.
Yeah.
I am upset with the people in my comment section that were upset that I was nice to him. Christians, we have to do better.
mean
We are
you're trying
called to love. We
win
are
him
called
over
to
for Christ?
We are called to speak the truth in love. We are called to
Yes.
love other people as we love ourselves. And that is what we are called to do. And if you cannot do that, I know that you're not a Christian because you will know them by their love for the brothers.
Amen.
You will know them
by
their fruit. And if you can't even love a guy who was just as bad as you were,
who's asking questions, who's confused.
Yeah. Because Jesus died for us while we were still sinners. He died for you while you were still a sinner, not after or not before. Just do better. Do as good as I am. I'm the best. Okay, I'm the best guy here. I'm the best Christian in the world.
You know what would be incredible if every single person I knew evangelized on a weekly basis. Like we'd go.
That would be awesome.
That would be incredible. And I get it.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of tough, and it's easier to have an excuse when you're filming, but you can still have these conversations. 100%.
Yeah, and obviously, guys, I'm just making jokes, obviously, but it would be nice if more people evangelized. I don't do this to toot my own horn. I actually do this with the very sole purpose of I am not amazing at evangelism, but I will do it because I'm commanded to, and I will show other people that it is not that intimidating. Yeah, it's not that difficult. It's a conversation,
and it's a conversation, and when you're
it gets better every time.
And you love that other person. So
yeah.
All right. So, is this Point Blank?
This is Point Blank now.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for watching or listening to the 10th episode of Point Blank, my podcast, weekly uploads on Friday. I might take a short hiatus. I'm feeling burnt out. I currently work part-time. I do school part-time, and then I'm very active in the church. So other than that, all likes, comments, I read every comment. Please like the video. Please hit that 5 stars on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, I think.
Yep.
Please rate it, leave a comment. And then if you would like to, there is a section down below where you can donate to the ministry, which is really literally just me and Jack. So if you like what you see and you don't want me to get super burnt out and then never go back to this, because I haven't been on TikTok in over a week. So I don't know. Because there's no I can levitate now because I've not been on TikTok for a week. But I might have to go back because the people, they need us. So, But yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching.
Thanks, guys.
And we will see you all later. Goodbye.
Peace.